Sarah's bare feet bled against the cracked summer earth as she ran. 8-month-old Danny screamed against her chest. 7-year-old Emma stumbled beside her, too exhausted to cry anymore. Behind them, Vernon Holloway's voice cut through the darkness like a whip. "You can't run from me, Sarah. The law says you're mine." She had no money, no food, no plan. Just 2 children and a desperate prayer that somewhere in this vast Colorado territory, someone would help a widow with nothing left to lose. She was wrong about having nothing left. She was about to lose everything. If you want to see how Sarah survives this nightmare and finds something she never expected, subscribe to our channel and stay until the very end. Drop a comment telling us which city you're watching from. We love seeing how far our stories travel. The summer night pressed down hot and heavy. Sarah Grace Holloway crouched behind the woodshed, her hand clamped over Emma's mouth. "Mama, I can't breathe," Emma whispered through Sarah's fingers. "Shh, baby, just a little longer." "But Mama." "I know, sweetheart, I know it hurts. But Uncle Vernon's right inside. You gotta be quiet as a church mouse for me. Can you do that?" Emma nodded, her small body trembling. Inside the house, Vernon Holloway's boots thudded against the floorboards. Sarah counted his steps. Kitchen to parlor, parlor to stairs. Danny squirmed against her chest, threatening to cry. "Please, baby boy," Sarah breathed. "Please stay quiet for Mama." The back door slammed open. "Sarah!" Vernon's shadow stretched across the yard. Sarah pressed herself and the children deeper into darkness. "I know you're out here somewhere." His voice was soft. Too soft. The kind of soft that came right before the storm. "You think you can just leave, after everything I've done for you?" Emma's fingernails dug into Sarah's arm. "Mama," she breathed barely a sound. "I'm scared." "I got you, baby. I got you." "The whole town knows you're unstable," Vernon continued. His boots crunched on dry grass. "Closer now. Running off in the middle of the night with my brother's children. That ain't the behavior of a fit mother, Sarah. 15 feet away. 10. Come back inside. We'll talk about this. I ain't even angry." Sarah held her breath. Vernon stopped. She could see his polished boots in the moonlight inches from their hiding spot. "Fine." His voice turned cold. "Run then, but you ain't gonna get far. And when I find you, and I will find you, things are gonna be different. I promise you that." He turned and walked back to the house. The door slammed shut. Sarah waited. 1 minute. 2. 5. "Mama!" Emma's voice was barely there. "Is he gone?" "Not gone, baby. Just inside." Sarah pulled Emma to her feet. "We gotta move. Right now." "Where are we going?" Sarah looked at the endless darkness beyond the fence. "Away," she said. "We're going away." 3 weeks earlier, Sarah had still believed she could survive this. "Emma, bring me the washing," she'd called from the kitchen. The 7-year-old appeared in the doorway, arms full of Vernon's shirts, dark circles under her eyes, cheekbones too sharp for a child her age. "Mama." "What is it, sweetheart?" "Uncle Vernon said I folded them wrong yesterday." Emma's voice dropped to a whisper. "He said if I do it wrong again, I don't get supper." Sarah's hands clenched around the dish rag. "You folded them perfect, baby. Uncle Vernon was just tired." "He's always tired, Mama." Emma set the shirts on the table. "How come he's always tired, but he never does no work? Out of the mouths of babes." "That's just how some folks are, sweetheart." "Mama." Emma looked up at her with those big gray eyes. "When can we leave?" "Soon, baby." "You always say soon. Soon never comes." Sarah knelt down and took Emma's hands. "Listen to me. I'm working on it. I'm saving money. I'm making a plan. But I need you to be patient just a little while longer. Can you do that for me?" "Yes, Mama." "That's my brave girl." But Emma was right. Soon never came. Not on its own. Vernon made sure of that. "What in God's name is this?" Sarah looked up from nursing Danny. Vernon stood in the parlor doorway holding Emma's drawing. "Emma drew our family," Sarah said carefully. Ain't it lovely? This. Vernon jabbed his finger at one of the stick figures. You drew me like some kind of monster girl. Emma shrank back against Sarah's skirts. I didn't mean... Don't you lie to me. Vernon crumpled the paper and threw it at Emma's face. Your mama's been filling your head with poison, ain't she? Teaching you to disrespect the man who feeds you? Vernon, please. She's just a child. Don't. He rounded on Sarah, his finger inches from her face. Don't you dare defend her. This is your doing. You're raising her to be just as ungrateful as you. Danny started crying at the raised voices. Now look what you done, Vernon snarled. Can't even keep that baby quiet. What kind of mother are you? I'm trying. You ain't trying hard enough. He grabbed Emma's arm, yanking her toward the stairs. No supper for you tonight, girl. Maybe an empty belly will teach you some respect. Vernon, no. Sarah stood Danny wailing in her arms. She didn't do anything wrong. Vernon turned slowly. His eyes were cold, empty. You want to take her place, Sarah? I can arrange that. Sarah looked at Emma's terrified face, at Danny screaming in her arms, at the man who controlled everything, the house, the money, their lives. No, she whispered. I'm sorry. That's what I thought. Vernon smiled. Emma, get upstairs. Now. Emma ran. That night, Sarah listened to her daughter crying herself to sleep in the next room and made herself a promise. No more soon. They were getting out. Whatever it took. The abuse came in waves after that, each one worse than the last. Mama, I'm hungry, Emma whispered one morning. I know, baby. But Uncle Vernon said I was bad, but I wasn't bad, Mama. I just asked for more bread. I know, sweetheart. I know you weren't bad. Then why can't I eat? Sarah had no answer. She snuck Emma half her own breakfast when Vernon wasn't looking. When he caught her, he locked Sarah in the root cellar until morning. Learn your place, he said through the door. Both of you. The cellar was dark and cold, and smelled like rotting potatoes. Sarah sat on the dirt floor, arms wrapped around her knees, and planned. She hid pennies in an empty tin can behind the henhouse. She stole matches, a knife, a canteen. She memorized the roads leading west. But she needed more time. More money. Vernon gave her neither. I've made a decision, Vernon announced 3 weeks later. Sarah looked up from scrubbing the floor. Something in his voice made her blood run cold. The Hendersons can't have children, he continued, settling into his chair. They've been asking around about adopting an infant. Offered good money, too. Sarah's hands went still. What are you saying? I'm saying Danny's a Holloway, and as head of the Holloway family, I got the right to decide what happens to Holloway property. Danny ain't property. Sarah stood the scrub brush clattering to the floor. He's my son. Your son. Vernon laughed. You're nothing, Sarah. A widow with no rights, no money, no family. Who's gonna stop me? You. I won't let you. You won't let me. He was on his feet now, advancing on her. Listen to me, real careful. The Hendersons are coming tomorrow at noon. You're gonna hand over that baby with a smile on your face. And if you don't... He grabbed her arm, fingers digging into flesh. If you don't, I'll make sure you never see either of your children again. You understand me? Sarah looked into his eyes. There was nothing there. No mercy, no humanity, just cruelty. Yes, she whispered. I understand. She understood perfectly. They were leaving tonight. Emma. Emma, wake up. The girl's eyes fluttered open. Mama, it's dark. I know, baby. We're going on a trip. A trip? Emma sat up, suddenly alert. Where? Away from here. Far away. Sarah was already packing Emma's few belongings into a pillowcase. Put on your shoes and your warmest dress. Quick now. What about Uncle Vernon? Uncle Vernon ain't coming with us. Emma's face transformed. Hope, real hope, flickered in her eyes for the first time in months. We're leaving. Really, truly leaving. Really, truly. Sarah kissed her forehead. But we gotta be quiet as mice. Can you do that? Yes, Mama. I can be so quiet. That's my brave girl. Sarah gathered what little she could: the hidden pennies, the knife, a canteen, some bread wrapped in cloth, Danny's spare diaper cloths. She strapped Danny to her chest and took Emma's hand. "Ready?" Emma nodded. They slipped out the back door into the summer night. The old mare Patience stood dozing in the back paddock. She was near 20 years old, half blind, and slower than walking. But she was their only chance. "Easy, girl," Sarah whispered, easing the gate open. "Remember me? I used to bring you apples." Patience's ears twitched. She allowed Sarah to slip the halter over her head. "Mama, can I pet her?" Emma asked. "Quick, baby, then we gotta go." Emma stroked the mare's velvet nose. "Good horse. You're gonna help us escape, ain't you?" Patience nickered softly as if she understood. Getting onto the horse proved harder than Sarah expected. Her arms shook with exhaustion. Danny fussed in his sling. Emma's legs were too short to mount without help. "Put your foot on the fence rail," Sarah instructed. "That's it. Now grab her mane and pull yourself up." Emma scrambled onto Patience's back. Sarah climbed up behind her, clutching Danny with one arm. "Hold on tight, sweetheart. Don't let go no matter what." "I won't, Mama." They'd barely cleared the property when the first shout rang out. "Sarah! Sarah!" Vernon's voice shattered the night. "Go!" Sarah urged Patience. "Please, girl, go!" The old mare broke into a jarring trot. Behind them, a lantern appeared in the upstairs window. "Is he coming, Mama?" Emma's voice trembled. Sarah looked back. A figure on horseback emerged from the barn, Vernon on his black gelding. "Yes, baby, he's coming." Patience gave everything she had. Sarah could feel the old mare's heart pounding, feel the strain in every stride. But it wasn't enough. It was never going to be enough. "Sarah." Vernon's voice grew closer. "Stop this foolishness right now." Danny started crying, the sound carrying across the empty prairie. "Shh, baby, shh." "I can hear you, Sarah. I can hear that baby. Mama, I'm scared." Emma's whole body shook. "I know, sweetheart. Just hold on." Sarah steered toward a cluster of rocks she could barely see in the darkness. Maybe they could hide. Maybe Patience stumbled. Sarah felt the mare's front legs give out, the sickening lurch as they began to fall. She grabbed Emma with one arm, Danny with the other, and threw herself sideways. They hit the ground hard. Sarah twisted to take the impact to protect the children. Pain exploded through her shoulder. Stars burst behind her eyes. "Mama!" Emma scrambled up. "Mama, are you okay?" Sarah couldn't answer, couldn't breathe. Patience lay on her side nearby, breath coming in terrible rattling gasps. The old mare had given everything. "Mama, get up!" Emma tugged at her arm. "He's coming!" Hoofbeats thundered closer. Sarah forced herself to her knees, her feet. The world spun. "Run, Emma!" "But Mama, run!" They ran. Sarah's bare feet sliced open on rocks and thorns. Emma tripped, fell, scrambled up. Danny's cries had gone hoarse, then silent, too exhausted even to scream. But Vernon was faster. His hand closed on Sarah's arm, spinning her around. She stumbled, nearly dropping Danny. "Did you really think you could escape?" Vernon's face twisted with rage. "Did you really think you could take what's mine?" "They ain't yours." Sarah tried to pull away. "They're my children." Vernon backhanded her across the face. Emma screamed. "Leave my mama alone." "Shut up, girl." Vernon didn't even look at her. "You've embarrassed me for the last time, Sarah. When we get back, things are gonna be different. Real different." "Let go of me." "Or what?" He laughed. "You'll fight me. You ain't nothing, Sarah. You got nothing. You are nothing." Danny whimpered. Emma sobbed. Blood trickled from Sarah's split lip, and something inside her snapped. "No," she said. Vernon's eyes narrowed. "What did you say to me?" "I said no." Her voice was steady now, cold. "I ain't nothing, and neither are my children." She drove her knee into Vernon's groin. He howled, releasing her arm, doubling over. Run, Emma. They ran. How far they ran, Sarah couldn't say. Minutes that felt like hours. When they finally stopped collapsing behind a stand of scrub brush, dawn was painting the sky pink and gold. Mama. Emma's voice was barely a whisper. Are we safe? Sarah looked at her daughter, dirty, exhausted, terrified, but alive. For now, baby, for now. What are we going to do? Sarah looked at the endless prairie stretching in every direction. No food, no water, no money, bare feet bleeding on the rocks. We're going to keep going, she said, and we're going to find help. What if nobody helps us? Sarah pulled Emma close. Then we help ourselves. That's what Holloways do. But Mama, we ain't really Holloways, are we? Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then she kissed Emma's forehead. No, baby, we ain't. And that's the best thing about us. The summer sun rose merciless and burning. By mid-morning, Sarah could barely walk. Her feet left bloody prints on the cracked earth. Danny had stopped fussing a bad sign. Emma trudged beside her in silence. Mama, I'm thirsty. I know, sweetheart. Real thirsty. I know. Is there water soon? Sarah scanned the horizon. Nothing but brown grass and blue sky. Soon, baby. Another lie. But what else could she say? They walked. The sun climbed higher. Heat waves rose from the earth, creating shimmering mirages. Mama, look, Emma pointed. Is that a lake? No, sweetheart. That's just the heat playing tricks. Oh. Emma's shoulders slumped. The heat's mean. It surely is. More walking. Danny's skin felt too hot against Sarah's chest. Emma stopped talking entirely. Then Sarah saw him. A figure on horseback silhouetted against the sky. Her hand went to the kitchen knife in her apron pocket. Stay behind me, she whispered to Emma. The rider drew closer. Tall, broad-shouldered, dusty hat pulled low. Not Vernon. But that didn't mean he was safe. Stay behind me, Sarah said again. The rider stopped about 20 feet away. He didn't dismount. Ma'am? His voice was low calm. Reckon y'all could use some water. That young'un don't look too good. We're fine, Sarah said. With respect, ma'am, you ain't fine. You're about 5 minutes from heat stroke and them children. I said we're fine. The man was quiet for a moment. Then he reached slowly, very slowly into his saddlebag. Sarah's grip tightened on the knife. He pulled out a canteen. I'm gonna set this on the ground, he said. Then I'm gonna back my horse up about 20 paces. You can decide whether to take it or not. Fair enough. He did exactly what he said. Set the canteen in the dirt, backed his horse away, waited. Emma tugged Sarah's arm. Mama, please. Danny needs water. Sarah looked at her son. His lips were cracked. His eyes were closed. She looked at the stranger. His hands were visible on the saddle horn. He hadn't moved any closer. Who are you? She demanded. Name's Elijah Thornton. Most folks call me Eli. He tipped his hat just a fraction. I got a ranch about 3 miles west. Was looking for strays when I spotted y'all. And you just happened to be riding by. Yes, ma'am. I just happened to be riding by. He paused. Look, I ain't asking for your story. I don't need to know where you came from or why you're running. But that baby of yours ain't cried in the past 5 minutes and your girl there can barely stand. If y'all don't get water and shade real soon, I'm gonna be digging graves instead of rounding up cattle. His words were harsh, but his eyes. Sarah had learned to read eyes. Vernon's eyes were empty, cruel. This man's eyes were steady, concerned, almost kind. Why should I trust you? She asked. You shouldn't. His answer surprised her. You don't know me from Adam. I could be the worst man in Colorado Territory for all you know. Then why? Because I ain't asking you to trust me, ma'am. I'm asking you to drink that water before your children suffer any more than they already have. That's all. Emma was crying silently, tears cutting tracks through the dust on her face. Danny hadn't moved in too long. Sarah made her decision. Emma, go get the canteen. Emma ran. She grabbed the canteen and brought it back, uncorking it before Sarah even asked. Sarah wet her finger and pressed it to Danny's lips. His mouth worked automatically, seeking the moisture. "That's it, baby boy. That's it." She gave him more. Then she held the canteen to Emma's lips. "Small sips, sweetheart. Don't make yourself sick." Only after both children had drunk did Sarah allow herself a swallow. The water was warm and tasted like metal, and it was the most wonderful thing she'd ever tasted. The stranger Eli still hadn't moved. "Thank you," Sarah made herself say. "You're welcome, ma'am." He paused. "Now I don't know your story and I ain't asking, but my ranch has water, food, and a spare room. My mother's there, she'd tan my hide if I left a woman and children to die in the sun. Y'all are welcome to rest until you're fit to travel." "No strings attached," Sarah said flatly. "Nobody offers help without wanting something." "My mother would disagree with you, ma'am. She's the one who raised me to help folks instead of leaving 'em to bake. And what does your mother want? To fuss over them children, I reckon. She ain't had little ones to spoil in 20 years. The corner of his mouth twitched. "If you don't want help, I won't force you. But that baby needs shade and proper feeding. Your girl needs food, and them feet of yours need tending before they get infected." Sarah looked at Emma, at Danny, at the endless, merciless prairie. She had no money, no food, no plan. Vernon was searching for them. "How far is your ranch?" "About 3 miles. We can double up on my horse." "And if we come with you, what happens then?" "Then you get a hot meal, a clean bed, and we figure out the rest come morning." He met her eyes steadily. "I ain't a patient man, ma'am, but I ain't a dangerous one neither. That baby's getting worse by the minute. Decide." Sarah looked at Danny. His breathing was too shallow. She looked at Emma. Her daughter could barely stand. "If you hurt my children," Sarah said quietly, "I will kill you." He nodded. "Reckon that's fair, ma'am." The ranch appeared through the heat haze like something from a dream. "Mama, is that it?" Emma stirred against Sarah's back. "I think so, baby." "It's so big." "You think so? Uncle Vernon's house could fit inside it 3 times?" Emma paused. "Maybe 4. A woman appeared on the porch as they approached, silver-haired, straight-backed, sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Eli," she called. "What in the Lord's name?" "Found him on the East Range, Ma. 'Bout dead from the heat." The woman was already down the steps. Her eyes moved over Sarah's bloody feet, Emma's tear-stained face, Danny's limp form. "Lord have mercy." She reached up toward Emma. "Come here, child. Let's get you down from there." Emma looked at Sarah. "It's all right, baby." But Emma didn't move. She studied the woman with solemn eyes. "How do I know you ain't mean?" she asked. The woman, Eli's mother, went still. Something flickered in her face. Understanding, maybe, or recognition. "That's a fair question, child." She lowered her hands. "I reckon you don't know, not yet, but I can promise you this ain't nobody gonna hurt you in my house, not while I'm breathing." "Uncle Vernon promised things too," Emma said. "He was lying." "Emma," Sarah said quietly. "That's enough." "No, let her speak." The woman's voice was gentle. "Child, I don't know who this Uncle Vernon is, but I know this: some folks make promises with their mouths and break 'em with their hands. Other folks make promises with their hands and keep 'em with their hearts." She held up her palms. "These hands have baked bread for hungry folks, tended sick children, and buried more loved ones than I care to count. They ain't never hurt nobody who didn't deserve it. You can trust 'em or not. That's your choice." Emma studied those weathered hands for a long moment. Then she reached out and took them. "I'm Emma," she said. "I'm 7. This is my brother Danny. He's real sick." "I can see that, sweetheart." The woman helped Emma down from the horse. "I'm Margaret, and we're going to take care of your brother. That's a promise I'm making with my hands." Something in Sarah's chest loosened. Just a little. Within minutes they were inside. Cool air, dim light, the smell of bread baking. Margaret took charge like a general commanding troops. "Eli, get water boiling. Sam, A black man appeared from another room. "Clean bandages and my medicine kit, and tell Sophie to start some broth." "Yes, ma'am." Sarah found herself seated in a sturdy kitchen chair, Danny nursing properly for the first time in days, her bloody feet soaking in a basin of cool water. Emma sat at the table, eyeing a plate of bread and honey. "Go on, child," Margaret said. "In this house you eat when you're hungry. You don't need to ask permission." Emma looked at Sarah. "It's all right, baby." Emma took a piece of bread, bit into it, her eyes closed in pure bliss. "It's so good," she whispered. "Mama, it's so good." Tears pricked Sarah's eyes. When had her daughter forgotten what fresh bread tasted like? Sam returned with bandages. He knelt by Sarah's feet, examining them with gentle hands. "These are deep," he said. "Gonna need stitching some of them." "I can do it myself." "I'm sure you can, ma'am. But seeing as how they're your own feet, maybe you could let someone else handle it this time." "I don't need." "Mama." Emma's voice was small. "Let him help, please." Sarah looked at her daughter, at the fear still lurking in those gray eyes. The fear that if Sarah didn't accept help, they'd have to leave this place, this safe, warm, bread-smelling place. "All right," Sarah said quietly. "Thank you." Sam nodded and went to get his kit. Margaret settled into the chair across from Sarah. "You don't have to tell me your story," she said. "But I'm going to ask one question, and I'd appreciate an honest answer." Sarah tensed. "What question? Is someone looking for you?" The room went silent. Emma stopped chewing. Eli, still in the doorway, went very still. Sarah could lie. She should lie. These people didn't need her trouble. But she looked at Margaret's steady eyes and found she couldn't. "Yes," she said. "My brother-in-law. He has legal claim to my children. Or says he does." "Legal claim how? My husband died 2 years ago. Vernon, his brother, says that makes him their guardian. Says the law gives him rights over me and the children. And what do you say?" Sarah's hands tightened around Danny. "I say he's a monster. I say he locked me in a cellar for feeding my daughter. I say he threatened to sell my baby to strangers. And I say I will die before I let him touch my children again." Her voice broke. She hadn't meant to say so much. Margaret was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached across the table and covered Sarah's hand with her own. "Then you're in the right place," she said. "This is Thornton land. Vernon Holloway ain't got no authority here. And as long as you're under this roof, ain't nobody taking them children from you." "You don't even know me." "I know enough." Margaret's grip was firm. "I know a woman fighting for her children when I see one. I know desperation. And I know courage. You got both." "Why?" Sarah whispered. "Why would you help us?" Margaret's eyes grew distant. Old pain flickered there. "Because someone helped me once. A long time ago when I needed it most." She squeezed Sarah's hand. "I made a promise to pay it forward. Every chance I got." Sarah looked at her daughter finally eating her fill. At her son peaceful in her arms. At these strangers who'd taken them in without hesitation. "Thank you," she said. "I don't know how I'll ever—" "You'll pay it forward," Margaret said simply. "Someday when you got the chance. That's how it works." That night, Sarah slept in a real bed for the first time in 2 years. Emma curled against her side. Danny in a cradle nearby, breathing steady and strong. She should have felt safe. She almost did. But just before sleep claimed her, Emma's voice drifted up from the pillow. "Mama." "Yes, baby." "Is Uncle Vernon gonna find us?" Sarah stroked her daughter's hair. "Not tonight, sweetheart." "What about tomorrow?" Sarah didn't answer. Because she didn't know. 5 miles east, Vernon Holloway was nailing her face to every fence post in the territory. By morning, everyone in Copper Creek would know her name. And the man who'd saved her life was about to risk everything he had. But Sarah didn't know any of that. Not yet. She only knew that for one night, one blessed peaceful night, her children were safe. And that would have to be enough. Sarah woke to the sound of laughter. For a moment, She forgot where she was. Her body tensed, waiting for Vernon's heavy footsteps, his sharp voice. Then she heard it again. Emma. Laughing. She sat up so fast her head spun. The bed beside her was empty. Danny's cradle was empty. Emma, Danny! She was on her feet before she could think, ignoring the pain shooting through her bandaged soles. She stumbled down the stairs, heart pounding. Emma! In here, Mama! Sarah burst into the kitchen and stopped dead. Emma sat at the table, flour on her nose, helping Margaret roll out biscuit dough. Danny was in the arms of a woman Sarah hadn't met yet. Plump, dark-skinned, with kind eyes and a wide smile. The baby was grabbing at the woman's silver earrings and giggling. There she is, Margaret said without looking up. Wondered when you'd wake. You slept near 12 hours. Sarah's voice caught. You thought something bad happened. Margaret's hands kept working the dough. That's natural given what you've been through. But I told you, ain't nobody gonna hurt them children in my house. Emma waved a floury hand. Mama, look, I'm making biscuits. I see that baby. Miss Margaret says I'm a natural. She says I got good hands for dough. That she does, Margaret confirmed. This here's Sophie, by the way. She does most of the cooking, but she let me steal the kitchen this morning. Sophie bounced Danny on her hip. This little man's been fed, changed, and charmed half the ranch already. Eli came in for coffee and the baby grabbed his nose, thought that man was gonna melt right into the floor. Sarah didn't know what to say. Her children were clean-fed, happy. Emma was laughing. Danny was playing. When had she last seen them like this? Sit down, Margaret said. Sophie, pour her some coffee. She looks like she's about to fall over. I should help. You should sit. Margaret's tone left no room for argument. Them feet of yours need rest. Sam said you tried to walk on 'em last night. I was just checking on the children. And this morning you came running down them stairs like the house was on fire. Margaret finally looked up, her eyes sharp but not unkind. You ain't gotta run no more, Sarah. Not here. The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. Her knees buckled. She sat down hard in the nearest chair. There now. Sophie pressed a warm mug into her hands. You drink that. You're safe. Safe. Sarah had stopped believing in that word. But watching Emma sprinkle flour onto the table, watching Danny reach for Sophie's earrings, watching Margaret's weathered hands shape the dough with practiced ease. Maybe. Just maybe. The kitchen door opened. Eli ducked inside, hat in hand. His eyes found Sarah immediately. Ma'am, you're up. So it seems. Good. He shifted his weight. I wanted to talk to you about what happens next. Sarah's stomach clenched. Here it came. The price. The strings. The thing he wanted in return. Eli. Margaret's voice was sharp. The woman just woke up. She ain't even had breakfast. It's important, Ma. So's food. Sit down. Eat. Talk after. Eli opened his mouth to argue, then seemed to think better of it. He sat. Breakfast was biscuits and gravy-fried eggs, thick slices of ham. More food than Sarah had seen in months. Emma ate until her belly rounded under her dress. Even Danny got soft bits of biscuit dipped in milk. When the plates were cleared, Eli finally spoke. I rode into town this morning. Sarah's blood went cold. There's posters, he continued. All over. Your face, the children's faces. Reward of $50 for information. $50. Sarah's voice sounded far away. That's more than most folks make in 2 months. Yes, ma'am, it is. Emma had gone very still. Mama, is Uncle Vernon coming? I don't know, baby. He's coming, Eli said flatly. Question ain't if, question's when. Then we should leave. Sarah started to rise. We've put you in enough danger. Sit down. Sarah sat. Eli leaned forward. Leaving ain't gonna help. You got no money, no horse, no supplies. 2 children, one of 'em still nursing. Vernon's got men looking for you. You wouldn't make it 10 miles. So what do you suggest? We just wait for him to find us. I suggest you let me help. Why? The word burst out of Sarah like a bullet. Why would you help us? You don't know us. You don't owe us anything. What do you want? The kitchen went silent. Eli's jaw tightened. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then Margaret spoke. He wants to do what's right, she said quietly. Same as his daddy would have done. Same as I raised him to do. Ma. Hush, Eli. Let me talk. Margaret turned to Sarah. When I was about your age, I was in a situation not too different from yours. A man who thought he owned me. A world that told me he was right. I ran just like you did, and someone helped me just like we're helping you. Who? Eli's daddy, William Thornton. A sad smile crossed Margaret's face. He was a stubborn fool with more courage than sense. Rode 5 days through Apache territory to get me to safety. Nearly got himself killed twice. And then he asked me to marry him. Margaret chuckled. I said no. 3 times. He kept asking. Eventually, I ran out of reasons to refuse. Ma, Eli's voice was strained. That ain't why I know it ain't. But she needs to understand. We ain't helping because we want something from her. We're helping because it's right. Because someone helped us once, and we're passing it on. Sarah looked at Eli, at Margaret, at Sophie, still holding Danny, her eyes soft with understanding. Vernon will come for us, she said. He won't stop. Let him come. Eli's voice was cold steel. This is my land, my family's land. He ain't got no authority here. The law. The law says what rich men pay it to say, but out here the law's got limits. Eli stood. You stay. You rest. You let them feet heal. And when Vernon Holloway shows up, he's gonna find out that some fights ain't worth having. He put on his hat and walked out. Sarah stared after him. He ain't much for pretty speeches, Margaret said. But he means what he says, every word. 3 days passed, then 5, then a week. Sarah's feet healed slowly. She spent the first few days in bed restless and anxious, starting at every sound. But gradually the rhythm of ranch life began to seep into her bones. Emma blossomed like a flower after rain. Mama, watch Mr. Sam taught me how to collect eggs. That's wonderful, baby. And Miss Sophie showed me how to make cornbread. And Mr. Eli. Emma's face lit up. Mr. Eli said he's going to teach me to ride a real horse, not an old one like Patience, a real fast one. Did he now? He said I got natural balance. He said that's the most important thing for riding. Emma paused. Mama, is that true? I reckon it is. I like Mr. Eli. He don't yell, he don't hit. He just talks quiet and does what he says. Sarah's heart clenched. Not all men are like Uncle Vernon, she said softly. I should have taught you that sooner. I know, Mama. I'm learning it now. Danny, too, seemed to understand that something had changed. He laughed more, cried less. One morning he crawled across the kitchen floor, grabbed Sam's boot, and said his first clear word. Da. Everyone froze. Did he just... Sophie started. Da. Danny repeated, grinning up at Sam. Da, da. Sam's face went through a complicated series of emotions. Now, little man, I ain't your... Da. Danny demanded, raising his arms. Sam looked helplessly at Sarah. Ma'am, I don't want you to think... Pick him up, Sarah said, her voice thick. He wants you to pick him up. Sam lifted Danny into his arms. The baby immediately grabbed his ear and giggled. I think you got yourself a new friend, Margaret observed. He needs a papa, Emma said matter-of-factly. Uncle Vernon was never his papa. Uncle Vernon was just mean. Sarah couldn't argue with that. By the end of the second week, she was helping with ranch work. Nothing heavy, Margaret wouldn't allow it, but small things, mending clothes, helping Sophie in the kitchen, learning to make preserves for winter. You got good hands, Margaret told her one afternoon. Steady, patient. You ever thought about teaching? I was a teacher, Before I married Silas. That's so. I loved it. The children, the books, watching them learn. Sarah's hands stilled over the jar she was filling. Vernon said teaching was a waste of time, said a woman's place was in the home. Vernon sounds like a damn fool. He is. Sarah surprised herself by laughing. He surely is. There's a schoolhouse in town, Margaret said casually. Been closed for 2 years now. No teacher willing to come out this far. Is that so? It is. Just thought you might want to know. Sarah filed that information away. For later. For when this was over, if it was ever over. The confrontation came sooner than anyone expected. Riders coming. Sam's shout brought everyone running. Sarah's heart seized. She grabbed Emma with one hand, Danny with the other. Get inside, Eli ordered. Don't come out till I say. Eli, inside, now. Sarah ran. From the window she watched 3 men ride up to the ranch house. 2 she didn't recognize. The third, Vernon, she breathed. He looked just the same. Clean-shaved, well-dressed, that smile that never reached his eyes. The smile he used when he was about to hurt someone. Afternoon. Vernon's voice carried easily. I'm looking for Elijah Thornton. You found him. Eli stood on the porch, arms crossed. What do you want? I'm Vernon Holloway. I believe you have something that belongs to me. That's so. Don't recall borrowing nothing. Not something you borrowed, Mr. Thornton, something you stole. Vernon's smile widened. My brother's widow, my brother's children. I've come to collect them. Inside, Emma pressed against Sarah's side. Don't let him take us, Mama. Shh, baby. Listen. I don't know nothing about any widow, Eli said. You might try looking somewhere else. Mr. Thornton, Vernon's voice hardened. I have witnesses who saw a woman matching her description riding toward your property. I have posters offering a generous reward. And I have the legal right as head of the Holloway family to take custody of those children. Legal right. Eli spat into the dirt. That's a fancy way of saying you got papers that let you hurt folks. I'm not here to hurt anyone. I'm here to bring my family home. Funny thing about family. Real family don't run away in the middle of the night. Real family don't hide in strangers' barns. Eli took a step forward. What did you do to that woman Holloway? What did you do that made her risk her life and her children's lives just to get away from you? Vernon's face went cold. That's none of your concern. You made it my concern when you rode onto my land. I'll get the sheriff. Do that. Sheriff Kane's a fair man. He'll want to hear the whole story, including the part where you threatened to sell a baby to strangers. Vernon went very still. That's a lie. Is it because the woman in question told me different, and I believe her? For a long moment, no one moved. Then Vernon smiled. That cold, empty smile that made Sarah's blood freeze. This isn't over, Mr. Thornton. The law is on my side. You can hide her for a while, but eventually she'll have to come out. And when she does, he tipped his hat. I'll be waiting. He wheeled his horse around and rode away. His men followed. Sarah couldn't breathe. Mama. Emma's voice was small. He's gonna come back, ain't he? Yes, baby. He's gonna come back. That night Sarah couldn't sleep. She paced the room until her barely healed feet ached, then paced some more. A soft knock at the door made her jump. It's Eli. Can I come in? She hesitated, then opened the door. He stood in the hallway, hat in hand. Saw your light was still on. I can't sleep. Figured as much. He shifted his weight. Mind if we talk? There's something I need to tell you. They sat on the porch steps, the night air warm and heavy around them. The ranch was quiet, except for the distant lowing of cattle. Vernon ain't gonna give up, Eli said finally. You know that. I know. The law's on his side. Sheriff Kane's a good man, but he can't ignore the law. If Vernon brings papers, if he gets a judge to sign off, they'll take my children. Sarah's voice was flat. I know. There might be a way to stop him. Sarah looked at him. How? Eli was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was strange, uncertain in a way she hadn't heard before. The law says Vernon has claim because you ain't got no husband. No man to speak for you. But if you did have a husband... Sarah's heart stopped. If you did have a husband, Eli continued, Vernon's claim would disappear. Your husband would have legal authority over you and the children, not your brother-in-law. Are you suggesting? I'm suggesting a solution, a legal one. Nothing more. Sarah stared at him. You'd marry me. A woman you've known for 2 weeks. A woman being hunted by a man who wants her dead. I'd marry a woman who needs protection. A woman whose children deserve a safe home. A woman who... He stopped. Swallowed. A woman who kneed Vernon Holloway in the groin and ran barefoot across open prairie to save her babies. That's the kind of woman worth protecting. Sarah couldn't speak. It wouldn't have to be a real marriage, Eli added quickly. Just a legal one. To keep you and the children safe. You could stay in the guest room. Nothing would have to change. He rubbed the back of his neck. I can't stand by and watch him take them. I can't. Why? Sarah's voice cracked. Why do you care so much? Eli was silent for a long time. Because I know what it's like to be helpless, he finally said. To watch someone you love get hurt and not be able to stop it. I was in the war. I saw things no man should see. I came home and found my daddy dying and my mama alone. I promised myself then that I'd never stand by again. Not when I could do something. Eli, you don't have to decide tonight. Sleep on it. Talk to my mother. But know this, Sarah Holloway. He met her eyes. Whatever you decide, I ain't letting Vernon take those children. Even if I have to fight every lawman in the territory to stop him. Sarah looked at this man. This quiet, stubborn, impossible man who'd offered her everything and asked for nothing. And if I say yes, then we ride to town tomorrow, find a preacher, make it legal before Vernon can stop us. And if I say no, then we find another way, but we find it together. Sarah looked at the stars, at the quiet ranch, at the man sitting beside her waiting for her answer. Inside, her children slept peacefully, safe, happy. For how long? Ask me again in the morning, she said, when I've had time to think. Fair enough, Eli stood. Good night, Sarah. Good night, Eli. She watched him walk back into the house. Then she sat alone on the porch watching the stars wheel overhead and tried to imagine a future she'd stopped believing in. By morning, she had her answer. Sarah found Eli at dawn, already saddling his horse. Yes. He turned. Ma'am? My answer is yes. She stepped closer. I'll marry you, today, before Vernon can stop us. Eli's hands stilled on the saddle straps. Something flickered in his eyes. Relief, maybe, or something more. You sure about this? I ain't sure about anything. But I'm sure I ain't letting Vernon take my children. Sarah lifted her chin. You said it yourself. This is the only way. It ain't the only way. It's just the fastest. Then let's be fast. Eli nodded slowly. I'll hitch the wagon. We leave in an hour. What about Emma and Danny? Ma will watch 'em. Safer here than in town. No. Sarah's voice was firm. They come with us. I ain't leaving them behind, not even for a few hours. Eli studied her for the long moment. Then he nodded. Get 'em ready. We ride at first light. Margaret didn't try to talk her out of it. You're doing the right thing, she said, helping Sarah into the one decent dress they'd found in the attic. It was old, faded blue calico, but clean. Eli's a good man, better than he knows. I ain't marrying him because he's good. I'm marrying him because I'm desperate. Ain't that how most marriages start? Margaret's hands were gentle on Sarah's hair, pinning it up. Mine surely did. I married William because I had nowhere else to go. Love came later. I don't expect love. I know, but sometimes it comes whether you expect it or not. Margaret stepped back, examining her work. There. You look like a bride. I look like a woman who ain't slept in 3 days. Same thing most of the time. Emma appeared in the doorway, Danny on her hip. She'd dressed herself in her best dress, the one Margaret had given her. Mama, are you really going to marry Mr. Eli? Yes, baby, I am. Does that mean he'll be my papa? Sarah's heart clenched. It means he'll take care of us, protect us, keep us safe from Uncle Vernon. So, like a papa? I suppose so. Yes. Emma considered this. Then she smiled, bright and sudden. Good. I like him. He don't yell. The ride to town took 2 hours. Sarah sat rigid in the wagon, Danny in her arms. Emma pressed against her side. Eli drove in silence, his eyes scanning the horizon. You expecting trouble? Sarah finally asked. Always expecting trouble. That's how you survive out here. You think Vernon knows? Vernon knows everything that happens in this territory. Question is whether he can do anything about it. Copper Creek was bigger than Sarah expected. A main street lined with wooden buildings, a general store, a saloon, a livery stable. People moving about their business, glancing curiously at the wagon as it passed. There's the church, Emma said, pointing. Small white with a simple steeple, a cross on top gleaming in the morning sun. Sarah's stomach twisted. Having second thoughts? Eli asked quietly. Third and fourth ones too. She looked at him. But I ain't changing my mind. Then let's get this done. The preacher was a thin man with watery blue eyes and a nervous manner. He looked at Sarah, then at Eli, then at the children. This is rather sudden, Mr. Thornton. Life out here tends to be sudden, Reverend. Yes, but matrimony is a sacred bond. It shouldn't be entered into lightly. Ain't nothing light about it. Eli's voice was steady. This woman needs protection. Her children need a home. I'm offering both. That seem light to you? The Reverend shifted uncomfortably. I've heard certain rumors about Mrs. Holloway's situation. What rumors? Sarah's voice was sharp. That you abandoned your brother-in-law's home, that you took the children without his consent, that you're unfit. Sarah felt the blood drain from her face. Those rumors come from Vernon Holloway, I reckon, Eli said coldly. The same man who locked this woman in a cellar, the same man who threatened to sell her baby. I have no knowledge of— Course you don't. Vernon's good at hiding his sins. Eli stepped forward. You gonna marry us or not, Reverend? The preacher hesitated. Sweat beaded on his forehead. I'm afraid I can't. Not without what Vernon's permission. Without being certain that I'm not aiding in something improper. Sarah's hands shook. This couldn't be happening. They'd come so far. Mama, Emma's voice was small. What's wrong? Nothing, baby. Nothing's wrong. The Reverend won't marry you. He's thinking about it. But if he don't, Uncle Vernon will take us away. The preacher's eyes widened. Take you away? Uncle Vernon's mean, Emma said simply. He hits Mama. He don't let me eat supper. He wanted to sell Danny to strangers. She looked up at the Reverend with those big gray eyes. Please, mister. Please marry Mama and Mr. Eli. I don't want to go back. The church went silent. The Reverend stared at Emma, at Danny sleeping innocently in Sarah's arms, at Sarah herself, pale and trembling but standing tall. Lord, forgive me if I'm making a mistake, he muttered. Then louder. Very well, let us proceed. The ceremony was short, simple. Sarah barely heard the words. She just repeated what she was told to repeat, answered what she was asked to answer. Do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. Do you take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? Sarah looked at Eli, at this stranger who'd become her salvation. I do. Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you man and wife. It was done. Sarah Holloway was now Sarah Thornton. Mama? Emma tugged her sleeve. Does this mean we're safe now? Yes, baby, we're safe. But even as she said it, she heard hoofbeats approaching the church. Eli's hand went to his gun. Get behind me! The church doors burst open. Vernon Holloway stood in the entrance flanked by two men. Behind them was a third man in a worn suit. Well, well, Vernon's voice dripped with contempt. Ain't this touchin'? The whore and the fool playin' house. You're too late, Holloway. Eli's voice was ice. The ceremony's done. She's my wife now. Is that so? Vernon smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. And did you ask the good reverend about her previous marriage, about the fact that Sarah is still legally bound to the Holloway family? Silas is dead. The marriage ended. But the family obligations didn't. Vernon stepped forward, and the man in the suit followed. This is Judge Harrison. He's traveled all the way from Denver to sort this matter out. Sarah's blood ran cold. What matter? Eli demanded. The matter of these children. Vernon's smile widened. You see, when my brother died, custody of his offspring passed to me as the nearest male relative. That's the law, Mr. Thornton. And your little shotgun wedding doesn't change it. That ain't... It is. Judge Harrison spoke for the first time, his voice dry and official. I've reviewed the documents. Vernon Holloway has legal standing to claim guardianship of the minor children. No. Sarah stepped forward. You can't do this. I'm afraid the law is clear, Mrs. The judge hesitated. Mrs. Thornton, until this matter is formally adjudicated, the children must remain in Mr. Holloway's custody. Over my dead body, Eli said quietly. That can be arranged. Vernon's hand moved toward his holster. Vernon, Judge Harrison's voice was sharp. There will be no violence. This is a legal matter. Of course, Your Honor. Vernon's hand dropped, but his eyes stayed on Eli, cold and calculating. I'm just here to collect what's rightfully mine. They ain't yours? Emma's voice rang out high and fierce. We ain't anybody's. You're a bad man and I hate you. Vernon's face twisted. You see what she's taught them, Judge? Disrespect, defiance. This woman is unfit to... That's enough. A new voice cut through the chaos. Everyone turned. A woman stood in the doorway. Mid-30s, plain dressed with sharp, intelligent eyes. She carried a medical bag. Dr. Webb. The judge looked surprised. What are you doing here? My job. The woman walked into the church, her boots clicking on the wooden floor. I examined these children 3 days ago at Margaret Thornton's request. The little girl was malnourished. The baby showed signs of dehydration. And Mrs. Holloway. Mrs. Thornton had injuries consistent with physical abuse. That's a lie, Vernon snarled. I have documentation. Dr. Webb reached into her bag and produced several papers. Photographs of the injuries, measurements of the children's weight, medical notes. She handed them to the judge. Would you like to explain, Mr. Holloway, why a 7-year-old child in your care weighed less than a 5-year-old should? Vernon's face went red. She's a picky eater. She was denied food as punishment. The child told me herself. Children lie. Children tell the truth when they're not afraid. Dr. Webb's voice was steel. And this child was very, very afraid. Of you. The judge examined the papers. His expression shifted. This is concerning. It's lies. Vernon advanced on Dr. Webb. You're in league with them. They paid you to... One more step, Holloway. Eli's gun was in his hand. Go on. Give me a reason. Vernon froze. The church held its breath. Gentlemen. Judge Harrison's voice was strained. I believe this matter requires further investigation. I'm not prepared to make a ruling today. Judge. Mr. Holloway, these documents raise serious questions about the welfare of these children under your care. Until I can verify the facts, I'm ordering the children to remain with Mrs. Thornton. You can't do that, I just did. The judge gathered the papers. There will be a formal hearing in 2 weeks. Until then, the children stay where they are." Vernon's face contorted with rage. "This isn't over. This isn't anywhere close to over. For today it is." Judge Harrison turned to leave, then paused. "And Mr. Holloway, I suggest you prepare a very good explanation for those medical reports. The court takes child welfare seriously." He walked out. After a long, poisonous moment, Vernon followed his men trailing behind. The church doors slammed shut. Sarah's knees gave out. Eli caught her before she hit the floor. "Easy, easy, I got you." "He's gonna come back," she whispered. "He's not gonna stop." "I know." Eli's arms were strong around her. "But we got 2 weeks. That's something." "It ain't enough." "Then we make it enough." Dr. Webb approached her, expression softening. "Mrs. Thornton, I'm Catherine Webb. Your mother-in-law asked me to be here today. Margaret sent you." She suspected Vernon might try something. She was right. Dr. Webb smiled grimly. "That man has made enemies all over this territory. You're not the first woman he's tormented. There were others, at least 2 that I know of. Neither ended well." Dr. Webb's eyes met Sarah's. "But you have something they didn't. You have the Thorntons, and you have me. Why are you helping us? You don't know me. I know what it's like to be dismissed, disbelieved, told that your word means nothing because you're a woman." Dr. Webb's voice hardened. "My husband taught me everything I know about medicine, and when he died, the medical board tried to take my license. Said a woman couldn't be trusted to practice alone. I fought them and won. Now I fight for other women who can't fight for themselves." Sarah stared at her. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. We've only bought time. Vernon will be back, and he'll be smarter next time." Dr. Webb glanced at Eli. "You need to find something that will destroy his claim permanently. Something legal, something irrefutable." "Like what?" "Like proof that Silas wanted Sarah to have the children. A will, a letter, something." Sarah's breath caught. "Silas did write a will. He told me once when Vernon first started coming around. He said he didn't trust his brother. Said he'd made arrangements." "Where is it?" "I don't know. Hidden somewhere in the house, I suppose. Vernon tore the place apart after Silas died, but he never found it." "Then we find it." Eli's voice was hard. "We go to the house and we find that will." "Vernon will never let us in." "Vernon won't be there." Dr. Webb's eyes gleamed. "There's a funeral next week. Old Mrs. Miller. God rest her soul. Vernon's the deacon of the church. He'll have to attend." "That's our chance," Eli said. "We go while he's at the funeral." "It's breaking and entering," Sarah said quietly. "If we're caught, then we better not get caught." The ride back to the ranch was quiet. Emma fell asleep against Sarah's shoulder. Danny fussed, then settled. "You okay?" Eli asked. "I'm married." "You are?" "To a man I've known for 2 weeks." "You are?" Sarah was quiet for a moment. "I've been married before. I know what it's like. The expectations, the duties. I told you this don't have to be a real marriage, just a legal one. And you're fine with that, living under the same roof with a woman who ain't really your wife." Eli's jaw tightened. "I'll manage." "What if you want to marry someone else someday? Someone you actually love? Then we'll figure it out." He glanced at her. "Why you planning to marry someone else?" "I'm planning to never marry again, after this." "Can't blame you for that." They rode in silence for a while. Eli, "Yeah. Thank you. For everything." He nodded. "You're welcome, Mrs. Thornton." Mrs. Thornton. The name felt strange, foreign, like a costume she hadn't grown into yet. But it also felt safe. For the first time in 2 years, Sarah felt safe. The days leading to Mrs. Miller's funeral passed slowly. Sarah practiced being a wife. It was strange sharing a house with a man who treated her as an equal. Stranger still was the way Eli looked at her sometimes when he thought she wasn't watching with something that might have been tenderness. But she didn't let herself think about that. Couldn't afford to. "The funeral's tomorrow," Eli said one evening. They sat on the porch watching the sun set. Vernon will be at the church by 10. Service lasts at least 2 hours. That gives us time. And if someone's at the house, Sam will stand watch. He'll signal if anyone comes. Sam's coming. Sam's the best man I know in a tight spot. You want him on your side. Sarah nodded. And the children? Ma and Sophie will keep him here, safe. I should tell Emma. She'll worry if we just disappear. Tell her what you need to tell her, but don't tell her where we're going. In case... Eli didn't finish the sentence. In case something goes wrong. Yeah, in case of that. Sarah found Emma in the barn feeding carrots to the horses. Mama. Emma's face lit up. Look, Mr. Eli's horse likes me. He took the carrot right from my hand. That's wonderful, baby. Sarah knelt down. Listen, I need to tell you something. Are we leaving? No, sweetheart, we're staying. But tomorrow Mr. Eli and I have to go somewhere, just for a few hours. Emma's face clouded. We're going to find something important, something that will help us stay safe forever. From Uncle Vernon. Yes, from Uncle Vernon. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she threw her arms around Sarah's neck. Be careful, Mama. Promise you'll come back. I promise, baby. I'll always come back to you. I love you, Mama. I love you too, sweet girl. More than anything in this world. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She lay in the darkness, listening to the sounds of the ranch, cattle lowing in the distance, an owl hooting somewhere in the trees, the creak of the house settling. Tomorrow, everything would change. Either they'd find the will and destroy Vernon's claim forever, or they'd be caught, and everything they'd fought for would be lost. Sarah closed her eyes and prayed, for courage, for luck, for the strength to protect her children no matter what. Morning came too soon. Sarah dressed in her plainest clothes, dark colors, nothing that would stand out. Eli met her at the door, similarly dressed. Ready? No, but let's go anyway. Sam was waiting with the horses. He handed Sarah a canteen and a small pistol. You know how to use this point and shoot. Close enough. Let's ride. They rode hard, pushing the horses faster than was probably wise. The sun climbed higher. Sweat trickled down Sarah's back. By mid-morning, they reached the outskirts of Vernon's property. There's the house, Sam said quietly. Looks empty. Sarah stared at the place she'd called home for 2 years. The place where she'd been imprisoned, humiliated, broken. Let's get this done, she said. They dismounted and approached on foot. The back door was locked, but Eli made quick work of it with a pick from his saddlebag. Learned that in the war, he explained at Sarah's raised eyebrow. Had to get into some places that didn't want us. Remind me to thank the Union Army. Inside, the house was quiet, dusty. Vernon had let it go to ruin since Sarah left. Where do we start? Sam asked. Silas had a study. Upstairs, he used to spend hours there writing letters, going over accounts. Sarah moved toward the stairs. If he hid a will, that's where it would be. The study was exactly as she remembered it. Silas's desk covered in papers, his books lining the walls, the smell of old tobacco still lingering in the air. Start looking, Eli said. Drawers, books, floorboards, anywhere a man might hide something. They searched. Minutes ticked by. Sarah went through the desk, Eli checked the bookshelves. Sam tested the floorboards for loose planks. Nothing. 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 It ain't here, Sam said finally. We've been through everything. It has to be here. Sarah's voice cracked. Silas told me. He said he'd made arrangements. He said... She stopped. He said he'd hidden it where Vernon would never think to look. The cellar, she whispered. What? The root cellar, where Vernon used to lock me. Sarah's hands were shaking. Silas knew Vernon never went down there. Said the smell of potatoes made him sick. If Silas wanted to hide something... That's where he'd put it, Eli finished. Let's go. The root cellar was dark and cold, even in summer. Sarah's skin crawled as she descended the stairs. Memories pressed in. The hours she'd spent locked down here. The darkness. The fear. "You okay?" Eli's voice was gentle. "No. But I'm going." They searched by lantern light. Boxes of rotting vegetables, old tools, broken furniture, and there in the corner, a loose stone in the wall. "Eli, look." He pried the stone free. Behind it was a small wooden box. Sarah's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a folded document, yellow with age but intact. She unfolded it and began to read. "I, Silas Abraham Holloway, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament." Her eyes scanned the page faster and faster. "All my worldly possessions, including the house, the land, and all monetary assets, I leave to my beloved wife, Sarah Grace Holloway, to be held in trust for our children." And there at the bottom, "In the event of my death, my brother Vernon is to have no claim whatsoever on my estate or my family. I have reason to believe he poses a danger to their welfare, and hereby expressly exclude him from any inheritance or guardianship." Sarah looked up, tears streaming down her face. "We found it! We found it!" Eli's face broke into a rare smile. "Let's get out of here." They climbed out of the cellar and headed for the back door, and stopped. Vernon Holloway stood in the kitchen, a rifle in his hands. "Well," he said softly, "ain't this a surprise?" Sarah's blood turned to ice. Vernon stood between them and the door rifle leveled at Eli's chest. His eyes were wild, desperate. "Thought you could sneak into my house while I was at the funeral. Did you?" Vernon's voice was eerily calm. "Thought old Vernon was too stupid to figure it out." "Vernon," Sarah started. "Shut up." He didn't even look at her. His eyes stayed fixed on Eli. "You, the hero, the savior, riding in on your white horse to rescue the poor damsel. Put the gun down, Holloway." Eli's voice was steady. "You shoot me, you hang for murder. That what you want? What I want is what's mine." Vernon's composure cracked. "That woman, those children, this land, all of it belonged to Silas, and Silas is dead. So now it belongs to me." "The law says different." Sarah's hand tightened on the will in her pocket. "Silas left a will, Vernon. Everything goes to me and the children. You get nothing." Vernon's face twisted. "Give it to me." "No. I said give it to me." He swung the rifle toward Sarah. Eli moved. He threw himself at Vernon, grabbing the rifle barrel just as it discharged. The shot went wild, shattering a window. The two men crashed to the floor, grappling for the weapon. "Sarah, run!" Eli shouted. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The two men rolled across the floor, fighting for control of the rifle. Vernon was older but desperate. Eli was stronger but off balance. They slammed against furniture, knocked over chairs, crashed into the wall. Then Vernon got his hand free. He pulled a knife from his boot. "Eli!" Sarah screamed. The blade flashed. Eli twisted, but not fast enough. The knife caught his shoulder, slicing deep. Eli grunted in pain, but didn't let go of the rifle. He drove his forehead into Vernon's nose. Bone crunched. Vernon howled, releasing the knife. Eli wrenched the rifle free and staggered to his feet, blood streaming down his arm. "Don't move." His voice was ragged. "I will shoot you, Holloway. Don't think I won't." Vernon lay on the floor, clutching his broken nose. Blood poured between his fingers. "You're dead," he snarled. "Both of you. You think a piece of paper is going to save you? I got friends. I got money. You got nothing." Sam appeared in the doorway, pistol drawn. "I heard the shot. Everyone okay?" "Eli's hurt." Sarah rushed to his side. "Let me see. It's just a scratch." "It ain't a scratch, you stubborn fool. You're bleeding everywhere." "I've had worse. When the war, got shot twice at Antietam. This ain't nothing." Sarah wanted to shake him. She wanted to kiss him. She wanted to scream at him for risking his life. Instead, she tore a strip from her petticoat and pressed it against the wound. "Hold still." "Yes, ma'am." Sam kept his pistol trained on Vernon. "What do we do with him?" "Tie him up." Eli's jaw was tight with pain. "We're taking him to Sheriff Kane. The sheriff won't do nothing." Vernon's voice was thick, muffled by his broken nose. "I told you I got friends. You got a will that says you ain't entitled to nothing." Sarah pulled the document from her pocket, holding it up. "Signed by Silas, witnessed by 2 men. Legal as anything in this territory." Vernon's eyes went wide. "That's a forgery. It has to be." "It ain't." Sarah's voice was steel. "Your brother knew what you were, Vernon. He knew you'd try to take everything, so he made sure you couldn't." "You're lying." "I ain't never lied to you, not once. Even when you hurt me, even when you starved my daughter, even when you threatened to sell my baby." Sarah stepped closer, her fear burning away into something else, something fierce. "You're the liar, Vernon. You're the thief. And now everyone's gonna know it." Vernon lunged at her. Eli's rifle cracked against his skull. Vernon crumpled to the floor, unconscious. "Probably should have done that sooner," Sam observed. "Probably." Eli swayed on his feet. "Sarah, I don't feel so—" He collapsed. "Eli." Sarah caught him before he hit the floor. His face was pale, his shirt soaked with blood. "Sam, help me. The wound's deeper than we thought." Sam dropped to his knees beside them. "We gotta get him to Dr. Webb, now." "What about Vernon?" "I'll tie him up, throw him over his own horse. He ain't going nowhere." They worked fast. Sam bound Vernon's hands and feet, while Sarah pressed her makeshift bandage harder against Eli's wound. The blood kept coming. "Stay with me," she whispered. "Eli, you hear me. Stay with me." His eyes fluttered open. "Still here." "Don't you dare die on me. You just married me this morning." "Reckon that'd be poor manners." His eyes closed again. "Eli." "He's breathing." Sam hoisted Vernon over his shoulder like a sack of grain. "Let's move." Getting Eli onto his horse was a nightmare. He kept slipping in and out of consciousness, too weak to hold himself upright. In the end, Sarah mounted behind him, wrapping her arms around his waist to keep him in the saddle. "Just a little longer," she murmured against his back. "Just hold on a little longer." They rode hard. Sarah's arms ached from holding Eli steady. Her dress was soaked with his blood. Every jolt of the horse made her heart seize with fear. "Please, God, please don't take him. Not now. Not like this." They reached Dr. Webb's office just as Eli's eyes rolled back in his head. "Catherine." Sarah's voice cracked with terror. "Catherine, help." The doctor appeared in the doorway. Her eyes took in the scene in an instant. "Get him inside, now." Sam and Sarah half-carried, half-dragged Eli into the examination room. Dr. Webb was already clearing the table, laying out instruments. "What happened?" "Knife wound, shoulder. He's lost so much blood." "I can see that. Hold him down." Sarah gripped Eli's hand, while Dr. Webb cut away his shirt. The wound was ugly, deep, still bleeding sluggishly. The knife nicked an artery. Dr. Webb's voice was clinical focused. "I need to cauterize it." "Do it. It's going to hurt. A lot." "Do it." Dr. Webb pulled a metal instrument from the fire. It glowed red hot. "Hold him." She pressed the instrument to the wound. Eli's eyes flew open. He screamed. His whole body arched off the table. "Hold him!" Dr. Webb shouted. Sarah threw herself across his chest, pinning him down. Sam grabbed his legs. The smell of burning flesh filled the room. Then it was over. Eli went limp, unconscious again. "Is he—" Sarah couldn't finish the question. "He's alive." Dr. Webb set down the instrument, her hands steady despite everything. The bleeding stopped. Now we wait. Wait for what? To see if infection sets in. The doctor met Sarah's eyes. The next 24 hours are critical. If he makes it through the night, he'll probably be fine. Probably? Medicine ain't an exact science, Mrs. Thornton. I've done everything I can. The rest is up to God and that man's stubbornness. Sarah looked at Eli's pale face. His chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. He's the stubbornest man I ever met. Then he's got a chance. Dr. Webb wiped her hands on a cloth. Now, Sam tells me you brought Vernon Holloway. He's outside, tied up. And the will... Sarah pulled it from her pocket. Somehow threw everything she'd held onto it. Dr. Webb took it, scanned the contents. This changes everything. She looked up, a fierce light in her eyes. Judge Harrison needs to see this immediately. But Eli... I'll watch him. You need to go to the courthouse, now, before Vernon's friends hear what happened and try to interfere. Sarah hesitated. Every instinct screamed at her to stay, to hold Eli's hand, to will him back to consciousness. But she thought of Emma, of Danny, of everything they'd fought for. Sam, stay with him. Don't leave his side. Yes, ma'am. Sarah bent down and pressed her lips to Eli's forehead. You come back to me, Elijah Thornton. You hear me? You come back. Then she turned and walked out the door. The courthouse was a 20-minute walk from Dr. Webb's office. Sarah made it in 10, clutching the will like a lifeline. Judge Harrison was in his chambers, reviewing papers. He looked up as Sarah burst through the door. Mrs. Thornton, this is highly irregular. I have proof. She slammed the will onto his desk. Silas Holloway's will, legal, witnessed. It names me as sole heir and explicitly excludes Vernon from any claim on the estate or the children. The judge picked up the document, his eyes scanning it. Where did you get this? Hidden in Silas's house. Vernon never found it. And where is Mr. Holloway now? Outside Dr. Webb's office, tied up. He attacked us when we found the will. He stabbed my husband. The judge's eyebrows rose. Your husband? Elijah Thornton. We were married yesterday. I see. The judge read the document again, more carefully this time. This appears to be genuine. The witnesses. I recognize these names. Reputable men. It is genuine. Silas wrote it because he knew what Vernon was. He wanted to protect us. And yet Vernon had custody of you and the children for 2 years. Because he hid the will. Because he lied. Because the law believed a man over a woman without even asking questions. The judge was quiet for a long moment. You're right, he finally said. I should have asked more questions. I should have investigated Vernon's claims more thoroughly. I failed you, Mrs. Thornton. Sarah hadn't expected an apology. She didn't know what to do with it. What happens now? She asked. Now I issue a ruling. The judge stood. Based on this will, Vernon Holloway has no legal claim to you, your children, or your late husband's estate. All assets revert to you immediately, and given his attack on you and Mr. Thornton today. Yes. I'm issuing a warrant for his arrest. Assault with a deadly weapon. Attempted murder, possibly. The judge met her eyes. Vernon Holloway is going to prison, Mrs. Thornton. For a very long time. Sarah's knees went weak. She grabbed the edge of the desk to steady herself. It's over. It's over. She didn't remember leaving the courthouse. Didn't remember walking back to Dr. Webb's office. The next thing she knew, she was standing in the examination room staring at Eli's still form. Well, Sam asked. It's over. Vernon's going to prison. The children are safe. Sam exhaled heavily. Thank the Lord. How is he? Same, still breathing, still unconscious. Sarah pulled a chair next to the bed and sat down. She took Eli's hand in hers. It was cold, too cold. You can wake up now, she whispered. It's done. We won. He didn't respond. She stayed by his side through the afternoon, through the evening, through the long, dark night. Margaret arrived near sunset, having heard the news from a neighbor. She took one look at her son's pale face, and her own face crumbled. My boy. He saved my life. Sarah's voice was hoarse from hours of talking to Eli, trying to call him back. Vernon would have killed me. Eli threw himself in the way. That sounds like him. Margaret sat down on the other side of the bed. Stubborn fool. Always trying to save everyone. He did save me. He saved all of us. At what cost? Sarah didn't have an answer. The hours crawled by. Dr. Webb checked on Eli regularly, her expression carefully neutral. Sam brought food that no one ate. Margaret prayed quietly, her lips moving without sound. And Sarah held Eli's hand and refused to let go. Near midnight, his fingers twitched. Sarah sat up straight. Eli. His eyelids fluttered. Eli, can you hear me? A groan, low-pained. That's it. Come back. Open your eyes. Slowly, agonizingly, his eyes opened. Sarah. The word was barely a whisper, but it was the most beautiful sound she'd ever heard. I'm here. Tears streamed down her face. I'm right here. Did we get the will? She laughed. A broken, sobbing laugh. Yes, we got it. Vernon's in jail. The children are safe. It's over. Good. His eyes started to close. That's good. Don't you dare go back to sleep. You scared me half to death, Elijah Thornton. Sorry. The ghost of a smile crossed his face. Didn't mean to. Well, you did. And when you're better, I'm going to yell at you properly. Looking forward to it. Margaret pushed past Sarah, grabbing her son's hand. You foolish, reckless, wonderful boy. What were you thinking? Wasn't thinking, Ma. Just reacting. You could have died? Didn't, though. His eyes found Sarah again. Couldn't. Had promises to keep. Sarah's heart clenched. Dr. Webb appeared, shooing them back so she could examine her patient. After a thorough check, she straightened with a satisfied nod. The wound's clean, no sign of infection. He'll need weeks of rest, but he should make a full recovery. Should? Margaret demanded. Will. He will make a full recovery. Dr. Webb smiled slightly. Assuming he follows doctor's orders and doesn't do anything else heroically stupid. I'll make sure of that, Sarah said. Good. Now everyone out. The man needs sleep, and so do the rest of you. Margaret kissed her son's forehead and left. Sam followed, looking like a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Sarah lingered. You too, Mrs. Thornton. Just one more minute. Dr. Webb sighed but didn't argue. Sarah leaned close to Eli's ear. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. For the water. For the shelter. For putting yourself between me and Vernon. For being you. His hand found hers, squeezed weakly. Told you, he murmured. Some folks are worth protecting. Rest now. I'll be here when you wake up. Promise? Promise. His eyes closed. Within moments, his breathing deepened into true sleep. Sarah sat back, exhaustion finally hitting her like a wave. But beneath the exhaustion was something else, something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Real hope. For a future. For her children. For herself. And maybe, just maybe, for the man lying in front of her. 3 days later, Eli was well enough to be moved back to the ranch. I can ride, he insisted. You can barely sit up, Sarah shot back. You're taking the wagon and that's final. Since when do you give orders? Since I became your wife. The words hung in the air between them. Sarah felt her face flush. I mean, legally. Your wife legally. Not, I know what you meant. Was that amusement in his voice? Fine, the wagon. But I ain't lying in the back like an invalid. You are an invalid. I'm improving. The ride back to the ranch was slow and careful. Sarah drove the wagon while Eli sat beside her, pale but determined. Sam rode alongside, keeping watch, even though Vernon was locked up and the danger had passed. Emma came running the moment the wagon crested the hill. Mama! Mama! You're back! She launched herself at Sarah before the wagon had fully stopped. Sarah caught her, holding her tight. I'm back, baby. I told you I'd come back. Is Mr. Eli okay? Miss Margaret said he got hurt real bad. He's going to be fine. He just needs rest. Emma peered into the wagon. Mr. Eli, are you okay? I'm fine, little miss. Eli managed to smile. Just got a little scratch. That don't look like a little scratch. That looks like a big one. Well, maybe a medium scratch. Emma giggled. It was the most wonderful sound in the world. Mama. Emma's voice dropped to a whisper. Is Uncle Vernon really going to prison? Yes, baby, he is. Forever. For a very long time. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she threw her arms around Sarah's neck again. Good. I hope he never gets out. I hope he stays there till he's old and gray and sorry for everything he did. Me too, baby. Me too. The next few weeks were a blur of recovery and adjustment. Eli healed slowly, grudgingly, submitting to Dr. Webb's orders. He spent most of his time on the porch, watching the ranch operations he couldn't participate in. Sarah caught him trying to sneak out to the barn twice in the first week alone. If you don't stay put, I'm tying you to that chair. You wouldn't. Try me. He stayed put. But he wasn't idle. He taught Emma to whittle patiently, guiding her small hands as she carved a wooden horse. He bounced Danny on his knee until the baby shrieked with laughter. He talked to Sarah for hours about the ranch, about his plans for the future, about everything and nothing. Sarah found herself looking forward to those conversations. Looking forward to seeing him each morning. Looking forward to the way his face lit up when she walked into the room. One evening, about 3 weeks after the confrontation with Vernon, she found him alone on the porch. May I join you? Always. She sat beside him. The summer sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Beautiful, Sarah murmured. It is. Something in his voice made her turn. He wasn't looking at the sunset. He was looking at her. Eli, I've been thinking. He shifted to face her more fully. About us. About this arrangement. Sarah's heart began to pound. What about it? When we got married, I told you it didn't have to be real. I told you it was just for legal protection, nothing more. I remember. I was lying. Sarah stopped breathing. Not about the protection, Eli continued. That was real. But when I said it didn't have to be more... He ran a hand through his hair, looking uncomfortable. The truth is, I wanted it to be more. Even then. You barely knew me. I knew enough. I knew you were brave. I knew you loved your children more than your own life. I knew you had more strength in your little finger than most men have in their whole bodies. He met her eyes. And I knew that when I looked at you, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. What? Hope. Like maybe the world wasn't as dark as I thought. Like maybe there was still goodness in it. Sarah didn't know what to say. Her throat was too tight for words. I ain't asking you for nothing, Eli said quickly. I know you've been through hell. I know the last thing you probably want is another man thinking he has a claim on you. I wanted you to know how I feel, in case it matters. Sarah looked at this man. This quiet, stubborn, impossibly kind man who had saved her life, married her to protect her children, and nearly died for her. It matters, she whispered. His eyes widened. It does. I don't know what I feel, Eli. It's all still so new, so overwhelming. But I know that when you were lying in that bed bleeding, I was more scared than I've ever been in my life. And when you woke up... She swallowed hard. I felt like I could breathe again. That sounds like something. It is something. She reached out, took his hand. I can't promise you love. Not yet. But I can promise you this, I'm not going anywhere. Whatever this is between us, I want to find out. His fingers intertwined with hers. That's enough. For now, that's more than enough. They sat together as the sun finished setting, hands clasped, watching the stars come out one by one. Sarah didn't know what the future held. She didn't know if she could ever fully trust again, fully love again. But sitting here beside this man, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Possibility. The next morning, Judge Harrison sent word that Vernon's trial date had been set. Will I have to testify? Sarah asked. Probably, Dr. Webb said. She'd come to check on Eli's healing. But you'll have support. Me Margaret half the town. Vernon's made enemies everywhere. What about Emma? Will they make her testify? I'll fight that if they try. She's been through enough. Sarah nodded, relieved. And if he's convicted? When he's convicted, the evidence is overwhelming. Assault, attempted murder, fraud, child abuse. Vernon Holloway is going away for a very long time. It should have felt like a victory. In many ways it was. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was still unresolved. She found her answer a week later. Mama. Emma approached her one afternoon clutching a piece of paper. I drew something. For you. Sarah took the drawing. It showed a house, the Thornton Ranch, clearly with figures in front. A woman with brown hair, a tall man in a hat, a little girl, a baby, and an older woman with silver hair. That's us, Emma explained. Our family. Sarah's eyes burned. It's beautiful, sweetheart. I put Mr. Eli in it. Is that okay? Of course it's okay. Miss Margaret said he's like a papa now, because you're married. Emma looked up at her, uncertain. Is he my papa? Sarah knelt down to Emma's level. Do you want him to be? Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. He's nice. He don't yell. He teaches me things. And when I get scared at night, he tells me stories till I feel better. She bit her lip. Is that what papas do? That's exactly what papas do. Then I want him to be mine. If that's okay. Sarah pulled Emma into a hug. I think that would be more than okay, baby. I think that would make him very happy. That evening, she told Eli about the conversation. His face went through a complicated series of emotions. Surprise, wonder, something that looked almost like fear. She wants me to be her pa. She does. But I don't know nothing about being a father. You've been doing it already, Eli. Every story you tell her, every time you teach her something new, every time you make her feel safe. Sarah touched his arm. You're already her pa in every way that matters. She's just asking you to make it official. Eli was quiet for a long time. I don't deserve this, he finally said. Any of it. You, the children, this. You saved our lives. Multiple times. If that doesn't make you deserving, I don't know what does. I was just doing what was right. And that's exactly why you deserve it. Sarah smiled. Most men do what's easy, what benefits them. You do what's right even when it costs you everything. That's rare, Eli. That's precious. And Emma sees it even if you don't. Eli looked toward the house where Emma was helping Margaret set the table for dinner. She's a good kid, he said softly. She is. And Danny's already trying to call you Da. Sophie says it's the only word he knows besides mama. Eli laughed. It was a good sound, a healing sound. Guess I better learn how to be a pa then. I'll help you. Promise? Promise. He reached out and pulled her close. It was the first time he'd held her like this, really held her, not in a crisis or a medical emergency, just holding her. Sarah tensed for just a moment, old instincts dying hard. Then she relaxed into his arms. We're gonna be okay. Eli murmured against her hair. All of us. We're gonna be okay. I know, Sarah whispered. And for the first time she actually believed it. Vernon's trial came and went in a blur. Sarah testified, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. She told the court everything. The abuse, the starvation, the threats, the attack at the house. The jury deliberated for less than an hour. Guilty on all counts. Vernon screamed as they dragged him from the courtroom. This ain't over. You hear me, Sarah? This ain't over. But it was. It was finally over. Sarah walked out of the courthouse into the bright summer sun. Eli was waiting for her, Emma at his side, Danny in his arms. Well, he asked. Guilty. 20 years in the state penitentiary. Emma threw her arms around Sarah's waist. He's really going away. Forever. 20 years, baby. That's a very long time. Good. Emma's voice was fierce. I hope it feels like 100 years. Sarah stroked her daughter's hair. Then she looked up at Eli. He was smiling. Really smiling for the first time since she'd met him. Let's go home, he said. Home. The word still felt new, still felt fragile, but it was starting to feel real. Yes, Sarah said. Let's go home. 3 months had passed since Vernon's conviction. Sarah stood at the edge of the Thornton property, watching the sun rise over the mountains. Danny squirmed in her arms, reaching for the light. Pretty, ain't it? Eli's voice came from behind her. It is. She turned to face him. I used to watch the sunrise from Vernon's house. Tried to find hope in it. Never could. And now? Now I don't have to try. The hope is just there. Eli stepped closer, his hand finding hers. The gesture had become natural over the past months. Easy. Right. I've been thinking, Sarah said, about Silas's property. What about it? I don't want it. Not the house, not the land, none of it. She met his eyes. Too many bad memories. So what do you want to do with it? Sell it. Use the money for something good, something that helps folks instead of hurting them. What kind of something? Sarah had been thinking about this for weeks. Ever since Dr. Webb had mentioned the closed schoolhouse in town. There's no teacher in Copper Creek, she said slowly. The schoolhouse has been empty for 2 years, children growing up without learning to read or write. You want to teach? I want to do more than teach. Sarah's voice grew stronger. I want to start a school, a real one, where every child is welcome no matter if their family's got money or not, where no child goes hungry, where they're safe. Eli was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. That sounds like exactly the kind of thing you should do. You don't think it's foolish? I think it's the opposite of foolish. I think it's the bravest thing I've heard in a long time. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. I spent 2 years being told I was worthless, that my dreams were stupid, that I should keep my head down and be grateful for what I had. And now I know that was all lies. Vernon wanted me to be small because it made him feel big. But I ain't small, Eli. I never was. No. He pulled her close. You surely ain't. The sale of Silas's property went through faster than Sarah expected. $4,000, Dr. Webb announced, handing over the bank papers. More than enough to renovate the schoolhouse and fund operations for several years. I can't believe it. Believe it. You're about to become the most important person in Copper Creek. Dr. Webb smiled. Those children need you, Sarah, more than you know. The renovation took 6 weeks. Sarah threw herself into the work, spending every day at the schoolhouse, directing repairs, ordering supplies, planning lessons. Emma helped too, her small hands busy with painting and cleaning. Mama, can I be your helper when school starts? You're gonna be a student baby. You need to learn too. But I already know how to read. You taught me. There's always more to learn. Besides, Sarah smoothed Emma's hair. I want you to have what I had. A real classroom, real friends, a real childhood. Emma considered this. Will Danny come to school too? When he's older. Right now he's too little. He's getting bigger every day. Yesterday he said Pa, for real this time. Not just Da. Sarah's heart clenched. Did he now? Mr. Eli cried a little. He tried to hide it, but I saw. Did he? Mama Bo. Emma's voice dropped to a whisper. Is it okay that I love Mr. Eli? I know he's not my real pa, but sometimes it feels like he is. Sarah knelt down to Emma's level. Baby love ain't about blood. It's about who shows up, who takes care of you, who makes you feel safe. She cupped Emma's face in her hands. Eli shows up every single day. He takes care of us. He makes us feel safe. If that ain't a real pay, I don't know what is. So it's okay. It's more than okay. It's wonderful. Emma threw her arms around Sarah's neck. I love you, Mama. I love you too, sweet girl. More than all the stars in the sky. The schoolhouse opened on a crisp September morning. Sarah stood at the door watching children stream in from all over the territory. Ranch kids and town kids, rich kids and poor kids, all of them looking at her with curious eyes. "Good morning, everyone!" Her voice only shook a little. "My name is Mrs. Thornton. Welcome to Copper Creek School." The first day was chaos. Children who'd never sat still for more than 5 minutes. Children who didn't know their letters. Children who were hungry, tired, scared. But Sarah didn't give up. She taught them their ABCs. She read them stories. She made sure every child got lunch, even the ones whose families couldn't afford to send food. By the end of the first week, something had shifted. The chaos had become order. The fear had become trust. "You're a natural," Dr. Webb observed, stopping by to check on things. "Those children adore you. They just needed someone to believe in them. And you gave them that. I gave them what I wished someone had given me." Sarah looked out at the schoolyard where Emma was teaching a younger girl to skip rope. A chance. Autumn deepened into early winter. The school thrived. Sarah's days were full of lessons and laughter, her evenings full of family. Family. The word had taken on new meaning. Margaret, who'd become the grandmother Emma never had. Sam, who taught Danny to walk by, letting the toddler hold his fingers and toddle across the ranch. Sophie, whose cooking filled the house with warmth and wonderful smells. And Eli. Always Eli. Their relationship had deepened slowly, carefully. Sarah had needed time to trust. Time to believe that not all men were like Vernon. Time to let go of the fear that had lived inside her for so long. Eli had given her that time. Never pushing. Never demanding. Just showing up day after day, proving with his actions what his words promised. One evening, as they sat together on the porch, he took her hand. "I have something to tell you." Sarah's heart skipped. "What is it?" "I love you." The words hung in the air between them. Simple, honest, true. "Eli, you don't have to say it back. I ain't asking for nothing. I just—" He ran a hand through his hair. "I needed you to know what you've brought into my life, the joy, the purpose. I spent years just existing, going through the motions. Then you showed up bleeding and desperate and fierce as a mama bear, and everything changed. Eli, you changed me, Sarah. You and Emma and Danny. You made me want to be better, do better, be the kind of man who deserves a family like this." His voice cracked. "I love you. I love all of you. And whatever happens, whatever you feel or don't feel, that ain't ever gonna change." Sarah looked at this man. This quiet, strong, impossibly good man who had saved her life and asked for nothing in return. "I love you too," she whispered. His eyes widened. "You do? I didn't think I could. After everything with Vernon, I thought that part of me was broken. Dead." She squeezed his hand. "But you brought it back to life. You and your stubborn kindness and your patient heart." "Sarah, I love you, Elijah Thornton. Not because you saved me, not because you married me, but because of who you are. Every single day." He kissed her then, gentle and sweet and full of promise. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were smiling. "So," Eli said, "what now? Now we live, really live, together." "I like the sound of that." "Me too." Winter came hard that year. The snow started in late November and didn't stop until January. The ranch was buried under white drifts. The roads became impassable. But inside the Thornton house, there was only warmth. Christmas was unlike anything Sarah had experienced in years. Margaret cooked a feast. Sophie baked pies until the kitchen smelled like heaven. Sam played fiddle while Emma danced around the room. Danny, now walking confidently, toddled from person to person, demanding attention and getting it in abundance. "Present time," Emma announced, dragging Eli toward the tree. They'd cut it together, the whole family trudging through the snow to find the perfect one. Emma had insisted on decorating it herself with results that were more enthusiastic than elegant. This one's for you, Mama. Emma handed Sarah a small lumpy package. Inside was a drawing. The whole family standing in front of the ranch. Emma had labored over it for weeks, adding details and colors until she was satisfied. That's you, Emma explained, pointing. And that's Pa. And that's me and Danny and Grandma Margaret and Uncle Sam and Aunt Sophie. See all of us together. Sarah's eyes blurred with tears. It's beautiful, baby. I put a rainbow over the house. For good luck. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Later, after the children were asleep and the adults were gathered around the fire, Margaret raised her glass. To family, she said. The one we're born with. The one we choose. And the one that finds us when we need it most. To family, everyone echoed. Sarah looked around the room. At Margaret, who'd welcomed her without question. At Sam and Sophie, who'd become the siblings she'd never had. At Eli, whose eyes met hers with such love, it made her heart ache. This was family. Real family. Built not on blood, but on choice. On love. On showing up day after day, no matter what. Spring came slowly melting the snow and bringing new life to the land. And bringing something else. There's a woman here to see you, Sam said one morning. Says Dr. Webb sent her. Sarah wiped her hands on her apron and went to the door. The woman standing there was young, maybe 25. Thin and pale with bruises on her arms she'd tried to hide with long sleeves. A baby was strapped to her chest. A small boy clung to her skirts. Sarah recognized that look, that fear, that desperate hope. Mrs. Thornton. The woman's voice was barely a whisper. Dr. Webb said, she said you might be able to help me. What's your name? Clara. Clara Jennings. This is my son Thomas. And my baby Mary. Where's your husband, Clara? Clara's face crumbled. He ain't a good man, ma'am. He hurts us. I tried to leave before, but he always found me. Dr. Webb said you know what that's like. She said you might understand. Sarah looked at this woman, at her frightened children, at the hope and fear warring in her eyes. She thought of herself not so long ago, bleeding and desperate, stumbling across the prairie with her own children. She thought of Eli offering water with no strings attached. She thought of Margaret opening her home to strangers. Come inside, Clara. Sarah stepped back from the door. You're safe now. Clara burst into tears. Over the next few weeks, Clara and her children became part of the Thornton household. Sarah helped her find her footing, just as the Thorntons had helped Sarah find hers. I don't know how to thank you, Clara said one evening. You saved our lives. Someone saved mine once. I'm just passing it on. Is that how it works? That's exactly how it works. Sarah smiled. One day when you're strong again, you'll find someone else who needs help. And you'll do the same for them. I will. Clara's voice was fierce. I promise. I know you will. Clara's husband came looking for her eventually, just like Vernon had come for Sarah. But this time, there was a whole community ready to stand against him. Sheriff Kane arrested him on the spot. Dr. Webb provided medical documentation. Half the town testified to his cruelty. He went to prison, just like Vernon. And Clara, like Sarah before her, began to rebuild her life. You've started something, Dr. Webb observed. A network, women helping women escape violence. I just did what anyone would do. No, Sarah, you did what very few people have the courage to do. You used your pain to help others. That's rare. That's precious. I had help. And now you're giving help. That's the whole point. Dr. Webb squeezed her hand. Ripples, Sarah. One act of kindness creates ripples that spread outward, touching lives you'll never even know about. Ripples. Sarah liked that word. Summer returned to Copper Creek. A year had passed since Sarah had fled Vernon's house with nothing but her children and a desperate hope. A year of healing. A year of building. A year of becoming the person she was always meant to be. Mama! Emma's voice drifted across the yard. Come quick, Danny's doing something. Sarah hurried over to where Emma stood with Eli. Danny was in the middle of the yard, his face scrunched in concentration. Watch, Mama, watch. Danny took a step, then another, then another. He was walking, really walking. Not toddling with someone's fingers to hold, but walking on his own. That's it, little man. Eli's voice was thick with emotion. That's it. Come to Pa. Danny's face lit up. Pa, Pa. He walked straight into Eli's waiting arms. You did it. Eli scooped him up, spinning him around. You walked all by yourself. What a big boy. Danny giggled, patting Eli's cheeks with his chubby hands. Pa, my Pa. Sarah's heart was so full she thought it might burst. Did you hear that? Eli's eyes were suspiciously bright. He said, my Pa. I heard. He called me his Pa. You are his Pa, Eli, in every way that matters. That evening, after the children were asleep, Sarah found Eli on the porch. She settled beside him, leaning her head against his shoulder. Happy? He asked. Happier than I ever thought possible. Me too. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars come out. I was thinking, Eli said eventually, about the future. What about it? I was thinking maybe we could make this official. The marriage, I mean. Sarah lifted her head. It is official. We signed papers. I mean really official. A real wedding. With a dress and flowers and the whole town watching. Not a rushed ceremony in an empty church. You want to marry me again? I want to marry you for real this time. Not because we're running from danger or trying to protect the children. But because I love you. Because I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Because you're the best thing that ever happened to me. Sarah felt tears sliding down her cheeks. Yes. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you again, as many times as you want. He kissed her soft and sweet and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Sarah looked up at the stars. A year ago, I was running for my life. I had nothing. I was nothing, or so I thought. And now I have everything. A home, a family, a purpose. She turned to look at him. Love. You always deserved those things, Sarah. Vernon just made you forget. And you helped me remember. We helped each other, she smiled. Yes, we did. The second wedding was everything the first one wasn't. The whole town came. Dr. Webb stood as Sarah's witness. Sam stood as Eli's. Margaret cried through the entire ceremony. Emma carried the flowers looking impossibly grown up. Danny toddled down the aisle, holding Sophie's hand, shouting, Mama, Pa, at the top of his lungs. Dearly beloved, the Reverend began. We are gathered here today to witness the union of two hearts that have already found each other. Sarah looked at Eli, at this man who had given her water when she was dying of thirst, who had offered shelter when she had nowhere to go, who had married her to protect her children, then fallen in love with her along the way. Do you, Sarah Grace Thornton, take this man to be your husband, to love and cherish in sickness and in health for as long as you both shall live? I do. Her voice was strong and clear. And do you, Elijah James Thornton, take this woman to be your wife, to love and cherish in sickness and in health for as long as you both shall live? I do. His voice cracked with emotion. Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. Again. The Reverend smiled. You may kiss the bride. The kiss was longer this time, sweeter. When they finally pulled apart, the whole church was applauding. I love you, Mrs. Thornton, Eli murmured. I love you too, Mr. Thornton. Emma tugged at Sarah's skirt. Does this mean we're really a family now, forever? Sarah knelt down and pulled Emma into her arms. We've always been a family, baby. This just makes it extra official. Good. Emma's smile was radiant. Because I never want another family. This one's perfect. Sarah looked at her daughter, at her son now asleep in Margaret's arms, at Eli standing beside her with love written all over his face. at the community that had become her home. "Yes," she said softly. "It surely is." That night, after the celebrations had ended and the guests had gone home, Sarah stood at the window of the room she now shared with Eli as his true wife. She thought of the woman she'd been a year ago, broken, afraid, convinced she was worthless. She thought of the woman she'd become, strong, loved, a teacher, a wife, a mother, a friend. She thought of Vernon rotting in prison, of Clara rebuilding her life, of the children at her school learning to read and write and dream. Ripples. Dr. Webb had called them ripples. One act of kindness creating waves that spread outward, touching lives in ways you could never predict. A stranger had offered her water in the desert. Now she was that stranger for someone else. Eli's arms wrapped around her from behind. "What are you thinking about?" "Everything. Nothing. How different my life is now." "Good different. The best kind of different." He rested his chin on her shoulder. "Come to bed, Mrs. Thornton. Tomorrow's a new day." She turned in his arms, looking up at this man who had changed everything. "Yes," she said. "It is." And as Sarah Grace Thornton walked into that new day, she carried with her the knowledge that had taken her so long to learn. That kindness was never wasted. That love could heal even the deepest wounds. That family wasn't about blood, but about choice. And that no matter how dark the night, dawn would always come. She had run barefoot through the darkness with nothing but her children and her courage. And she had found everything she never knew she was looking for. A home, a husband, a purpose, a life. Sarah Thornton was no longer running. She was exactly where she was meant to be.